For others, entering death row is torment. But for me, Li Jun, I was treated like an ancestor. 3 masters, a monk, a Taoist, and a beauty pleaded with tears for me to leave, and all the prisoners in the jail saw me off in unison. After returning home, the old master said, "I've arranged a marriage for you." I said, "With my looks and family background, why do I need an arranged marriage?" The old man replied, "That girl has a face that brings fortune to her husband." My legs went weak. In the old folks' mouths, a face that brings fortune to her husband just meant a big, round face. I had to call off this marriage. 3 years ago, I was framed and thrown into death row Sin City prison, the most heavily guarded prison in the world, bar none. Politicians who could sway the empire, tycoons whose wealth rivaled nations, and war gods of unmatched valor were all locked up here. Yet they all had to call me boss. My name is Li Juni, the sole legitimate heir of the Li family, a top-tier noble clan of Xia Kingdom, and once the ultimate playboy. 3 years ago, I was the lead in that scandalous affair that shook the imperial capital. That night, egged on by a bunch of my scumbag friends, I forcibly defiled Yi Qingsheng, the #1 beauty of the imperial capital. Yi Qingsheng also comes from the top-tier Yi family. My grandfather was fiercely protective, and old Master Yi stormed into the Li residence with a Mauser pistol, demanding to shoot me dead. In the end, both sides backed down, and I was sent to death prison as a way to give the Yi family an explanation. 3 years, a place others would do anything to escape, yet I spent 3 years there. Today, my 3 masters call me over again, insisting on kicking me out no matter what. Master Monk Yijin tied his monk's robe around his waist and hid a collector's edition of the Jade Regiment I gave him under his pillow. Old Taoist Master Wuchen puffed on a cigar while flicking his whisk, all his celestial aura ruined by that mouth of his. And Mistress Yulinglong, a stunning beauty in her youth. "You little brat, if you don't leave soon, you'll be the death of us 3. Master Yijin was so mad his bald head was sweating. I observed the stars last night. Today's the best day to leave prison. Master Wuchen spoke as if it were gospel. I leaned back in a wooden chair, crossed my legs, and said, "I'm not leaving. If I go, we'll take care of you. I can't be an unfilial disciple. Taking care of us? You're just waiting for us to kick the bucket." No matter how they tried to persuade or coax me, I remained unmoved. Until Master Yulinglong's face darkened, and she said 3 things. First, that girl from the Yi family is getting married. Second, your father was once known as the #1 war god of the Xia Kingdom, but he was poisoned to death on the southern battlefield. Your mother was open-minded and cheerful. How could she have been heartless enough to abandon you, still a nursing infant, to kill herself for love? Third, now that you have the power, don't you want to uncover the truth of what happened back then? The smile on my face slowly faded. Father, mother, Yi Qingqing. Half an hour later, the gates of the death prison swung open with a bang, and thousands of prisoners shouted in unison, "See the big boss off," as he left prison. The noise was deafening. A burly white man who had just been brought and was cursing and grumbling. I walked past him, turned back, and said to the prison guard, "Saiban, make him drop the soap 3 times a day. Miss even one, and I'll break your legs." Then I walked away without looking back. At the Imperial City International Airport, I had just come out through the special passage when 2 figures rushed over, shouting, "Young master! Young master!" I sidestepped, and the 2 of them fell flat on their faces. "Go Fuguwei, Wu Xiangwang, my 2 eccentric lackeys." "Young master, in these years you were away, I couldn't eat well or sleep soundly." Go Fuguwei's tears came on command. Wu Xiangwang refused to be outdone. I bowed to the young master's photo 3 times every day, praying to the heavens for your safe return. I shot him a glance. "Are you holding a memorial service here?" The 2 shut up instantly. The gold Bentley sped through without a hitch and stopped outside the Leaf family estate. Sent away 3 years ago, now walking back on my own. Can't quite describe the feeling. The moment I stepped inside, a Scottish terrier lunged at me, barking furiously. I grabbed it, smacked it twice, then tossed it to Wu Xiangwang. "Butcher it. We're having hot pot tonight, extra goji berries." "Young master, this is Lacey, your favorite dog." A foreign dog is just a foreign dog. 3 years gone, and it doesn't even recognize its master. Why keep it? I walked into the main courtyard. I ran straight into my cousin Lixiao. The moment he saw me, his face turned uglier than if he'd seen a ghost. "See, cousin, why are you back?" I patted him on the shoulder with a knowing grin. It's a long story I'll tell you another day. 3 years ago, he was the one who urged me to provoke Yi Qingsheng. I'm the sole direct heir of the Li family. He's just a collateral branch. If I fell from grace, the position of family head would be his for the taking. I'd had plenty of time to think it over these 3 years. I'd only taken 2 steps when a booming voice rang out. Junyi. My grandfather, Li Dingwa Marshal of the Tiger Roar Army, strode over in full uniform. Old Li, you're still as impressive as ever, I said with a cheeky grin. His eyes reddened. Then his expression hardened. How did you come back from that place? By plane, unless you expect me to walk? Cut the crap. I haven't even pulled any strings yet. How did you get out? Keep yelling at me, and I'll have old man Li give you a lashing. You little brat, daring to threaten me. Li Dingwa unbuckled his belt and swung it at me. I bolted and ran straight for the backyard vegetable patch. An old man with white hair was squatting in the field weeding, sunlight filtering through the leaves and dappling him like a divine miracle. Li Yuanshan, my great-grandfather, one of the few remaining founding heroes of Xia, kingdom, a man whose mere footstep could shake the entire nation. Old Li, your unfilial son is about to hit me again, and you still have the mood to play in the mud here. The old man's sturdy frame jolted as he turned, tears streaming down his face. You little brat, it really is you back home. Li Dingwa charged over with a belt in hand. Li Yuanshan's face darkened. Son of a bitch, you dare lay a hand on my precious great-grandson? Dad, no, listen to me. I don't want to hear it. Touch a single hair on his head, and I'll skin you alive. The mighty commander of the Tiger Roar Army, in front of my great-grandfather, looked like a schoolboy caught doing wrong. I almost laughed out loud. All right, let's get down to business. Li Yuanshan fronat suddenly. How did you get back, boy? Again with this? I waved my hand impatiently. By plane. Really by plane. Li Yuanshan didn't press further. He changed the subject. I've arranged a marriage for you. You'll meet in a few days. What the heck? With my looks and family background, you're still afraid I'll end up single? Li Dingwa was about to scold me again, but Grandpa shot him a glare that shut him up. Li Yuanshan patted my shoulder. That girl has a face that brings good fortune to her husband. Marrying her would be your blessing. My heart skipped a beat. In the older generation S words, a face that brings good fortune usually meant a big, round face. Arranged marriage, no way. This engagement has to be called off. That evening, we were eating dog meat hot pot, greasy mouth, while Go Fugue and Wu Xiangwang bickered beside me, vying to pledge their loyalty. Young master, 3 years ago, you might have been set up, Go Fugue said mysteriously. Wu Xiangwang quickly tried to steal the credit. Using my intelligence, which rivals Einstein's, I deduced that the person who framed you is most likely Li Xiao. Bullshit. I was the one who figured that out. You're full of bullshit. I put down my chopsticks, a slight smile on my lips. You two are truly my trusted aides. I didn't misjudge you. The two were moved to tears and were about to pledge loyalty again. Enough, stop the nonsense. Come with me out the door. They thought I was going to visit Shanlan Lane and were all excited. Instead, we boarded a flight directly to Shuanqing. On the plane, I was flipping through a magazine. Next to me sat a woman in her early 20s, her features so delicate they seemed carved by God himself. She had a graceful figure with an ethereal aura, stunningly beautiful. I thought I'd seen many extraordinary beauties. Except for Yi Qingsheng, everyone else would pale in comparison to her. In 2 minutes, I had glanced at her no less than 10 times. She seemed to notice, looking around several times before finally turning to me with a smile. Handsome, have you been sneaking glances at me? I put down the magazine. Are you talking to me? She nodded. Oh, I was looking at you, I admitted generously. She was visibly stunned, probably never having met someone so unapologetic. If you don't like me sneaking looks, I'll just look at you openly. Chen Qingyao was about to call the flight attendant to change seats when a black gun barrel pressed against her waist. A man in a baseball cap lowered his voice. Miss Chen, it's best not to make any rash moves before we land. Men from Xingyi Pavilion? Chen Qingyao was unusually calm. Miss Chen, you're as clever as they say. How much did Lin Zhonghu pay you? I'll give you double. I like money. Hold on. I interjected. Are you two ignoring me? The guy in the duckbill cap glared at me fiercely. Kid, mind your own business, or you won't like the consequences. What if I insist on minding it? If I'm not bold, am I even young? As I said that, before he could blink, The gun in his hand was already in my palm. In less than 10 seconds, I had disassembled it into parts, clattering to the ground. Now tell me, what consequences? Which gang are you from, brother? I'm from Shingy Hall. I slapped him across the face. I'm asking you, what consequences? Go Fuguei rushed up and threw 2 punches. Our young master hits you as a favor, and you dare to name your gang? Wu Xiangwang spat his face. Keep yapping, and we'll throw you off the plane. Chun Qingyao stood up and explained to the flight attendant who rushed over. This man tried to harass me, and this gentleman saved me. After getting off the plane, she caught up and handed me a gilded business card. My name is Chun Qingyao. Here's my number. Make sure to contact me. I'll treat you to a meal. I have urgent matters now, so I'll go first. With that, she hurried into a luxury business van. Chun Qingyao, I remembered the name. The next morning in Xuanxing at Yunyang Group, I walked into the building with my 2 underlings. Wherever he passed, the female employee's eyes went straight. No choice. This appearance was indeed a bit unfair. The front desk beauty's eyes sparkled. Handsome, are you here to apply for security guard? Security guard? I didn't look like one. Just as I was about to speak, an arrogant voice came from behind. Chun Qingxue, if you don't give me a satisfactory answer now, I'll make you regret it. I turn to look. A young man with white-dyed hair, followed closely by a woman. Cold, untouchable like an iceberg. But her face, exactly the same as Chun Qingyao on the plane last night. Not the same person, completely different aura. Twins? Interesting. With this thought, I got a little excited. As the young master of Xingyi Pavilion, Lin Dongxiang could have whatever he wanted in Xuanqing. No woman he set his eyes on had ever slipped through his fingers. He was convinced that the ice-cold female CEO before him would be no exception. Vaguely sensing someone staring at Chun Qingxue, Lin Dongxiang glanced around. Crow, gouge out that pretty boy's eyes. Lin Dongxiang was furious. In his mind, Chun Qingxue was already his woman, and any other man daring to look at her was an insult to him. Yes, a burly man with a slanting fringe on his forehead strode toward Li Junyi. Seeing this, many employees looked at Li Junyi with sympathy, especially the female employees. They wanted to step forward and share his hardship, hoping to win his favor. But the thought of Lin Dongxiang's background immediately quashed that notion. A handsome man was important, but not as important as one's own life. Fuguei, we've seen plenty of ruthless daredevils between us, but dumbass begging for death are a rare sight. You said it. Go Fuguei and Wu Xiangwang were the complete opposite of everyone else. The looks they gave Lin Dongxiang were full of sympathy. Lin Dongxiang, this is my company. If you dare cause any more trouble, I'll call the legal affairs office immediately. Chun Qingxue suddenly stepped in front of Li Junyi, blocking Crow's advance. So, you're keeping this pretty boy? Lin Dongxiang's face turned ashen, feeling as if he had been cuckolded. A dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Chun Qingxue replied coldly, her tone icy and distant. Lin Dongxiang snorted. Right now, this is still your company, but it won't be for long. Can you protect this pretty boy for a while? Or for his whole life? With that, he waved his hand. Let's go. But before leaving, he didn't forget to shoot Li Junyi a mocking glance, as if to say, Kid, just wait for your doom. Did I say you could leave? A domineering voice echoed through the hall. Lin Dongxiang stopped and turned, glaring angrily. Kid, what did you just say? Fuguei, you taking this, or am I? As Li Junyi's right-hand man, Wu Xiangwang knew exactly what the boss was thinking. Go Fuguei shrugged dismissively. This small fry isn't worth my time. It's all yours. Wu Xiangwang shot him a glare. Can you survive 1 second without acting cool? The moment the words left his mouth, he lunged at Lin Dongxiang. You're asking for it. Crow reacted swiftly, sidestepping Chun Qingxue to block Wu Xiangwang's path, throwing a punch at the latter. Wu Xiangwang smirked contemptuously, meeting it with a punch of his own. Bang! Bang! Crack! The 2 fists collided. Crow, a tall 6-footer, flew backward, clutching his arm and writhing in agony on the ground. The crowd was stunned. Puff! Trash! Wu Xiangwang patted the dust off his clothes, then spat accurately right on Crow's face. Lin Dongxiang was completely stunned, too shocked to speak. He knew well how capable Crow was. Taking on a dozen ordinary people solo was no problem for him. Yet now, someone had taken him out with a single punch. Shoo! Huh! Li Jun lit a cigarette and said calmly, break his legs and throw him out. Understood. Wu Xiangwang chuckled coldly, walking step by step toward Lin Dongxiang. Stay away. I'm the young master of Xingyi Pavilion. If you dare touch me, your whole family will be buried with me. Lin Dongxiang was panicking, so in his desperation, he immediately revealed his identity. Oh my, what an impressive identity. You scared me to death. Bam! Crack! Wu Xiangwang moved incredibly fast. Before anyone could see what happened, a crisp cracking sound of bones was heard, and then they saw Lin Dongxiang lying on the ground, unable to get up. My leg! My leg! Moments ago, the young master of Xingyi Pavilion was full of high spirits, but now he was howling like a dying dog. Wu Xiangwang followed Li Junyi's orders, grabbing Crow in one hand and Lin Dongxiang in the other, tossing them out the main gate like chicks. All of this seemed slow, but it took less than 2 minutes. Even Chun Qingxue, who had seen many grand scenes, was stunned by what had just happened. Her gaze fixed on Li Junyi. He was imposing and graceful. Such a man was unforgettable, so Chun Qingxue was certain she had never seen him before. Who are you? Chun Qingxue asked warily. Ahem. Listen up. Our young master is. Keep a low profile. Go Fuguwei was about to reveal Li Junyi's identity, but was stopped by the latter's sharp command. Li Junyi walked up to Chun Qingxue with an extremely suave stride and said seriously, let me introduce myself. My name is Li Junyi. If you are Chun Qingxue, then I should be your fiancé. Fiancé. These 3 words were like a bomb dropped into the deep sea, instantly causing an uproar. The CEO actually has a fiancé. Although I really like that handsome guy, I have to say the CEO is still a better match with him. Indeed, the two of them are simply a perfect match. The surrounding employees whispered among themselves. You got rid of an annoying pest for me, and I'm grateful, but please show some respect and stop talking nonsense. A rare blush appeared on Chun Qingxue's face, leaving aside that she had no idea she had a fiancé. Even if she did, how could she not recognize her own fiancé? In that instant, she concluded that this was a new approach of his to pursue her, and her tone unconsciously returned to its usual aloofness. You don't know that I'm your fiancé? Seeing that she didn't seem to be faking it, Li Junyi's face showed a hint of surprise. The address was right. The name was right. There was no way old Li and my dad would mess with me. Chun Qingxue didn't dwell on that topic. Changing the subject, she said, I can tell you're no ordinary person, but I still have to warn you that Lin Dongxiang is no small fry. With that, she took a check from her bag, quickly filled in a series of numbers, and handed it to Li Junyi. Take this money and leave Xuanqing immediately. Li Junyi didn't take the check. Instead, he waved at Go Fuguwei and Wu Xiangwang to leave. He needed to figure out if he had found the wrong person. Seeing this, Chun Qingxue's expression turned complicated. A moment later, just as Li Junyi and his 2 companions stepped out of the office building, more than 20 men in suits, all with fierce looks, surrounded them. Bastard, tell me how you want to die now? Lin Dongxiang was being supported by 2 men. In just a few minutes, he had gathered a large group of his subordinates. Despite the pain, he insisted on staying to take revenge himself instead of going to the hospital. Young master, don't worry. Fuguwei and I can handle these small fries. Wu Xiangwang patted his chest reassuringly. Go Fuguwei nodded in agreement and said, just give us 10 minutes. That's enough. Li Junyi shot them a glare, pouted, and said, was I ever scared? I'm super strong, you know. Believe it or not, I can take down this bunch of losers with just 1 punch. Hearing this, Go Fuguwei and Wu Xiangwang exchanged glances, their eyes seemingly telling each other. The young master's talent for bragging seems to have improved. Clearly, Go Fuguwei and Wu Xiangwang didn't take Li Junyi's words seriously. The next moment, the 2 flashed forward, like tigers charging down a mountain into a flock of sheep. Ouch! With every move Go Fuguwei and Wu Xiangwang made, a black-clothed man fell, and cries of pain instantly rang out. Lin Dongxiang's expression grew grim, and a hint of fear gradually appeared on his face. Li Junyi, on the other hand, found a stone pier by the roadside, sat down, crossed his legs, and held a cigarette in his mouth, looking completely carefree. In just a few minutes, over a dozen members of Xingyi Pavilion lay on the ground, while the remaining 7 or 8 stepped back in unison, none daring to advance rashly. Young master, these two might be martial artists. Maybe we should leave first. A yellow-haired man warned anxiously. Lin Dongxiang nodded vigorously. Let's go. But just then, the sound of sirens wailed in the distance. 4 or 5 enforcement bureau cars pulled up one after another, and over a dozen officers got out. Everyone stop. Get down on the ground with your hands on your heads. The leading captain barked sternly. At the same time, Chan Qingxue hurried out, visibly relieved when she saw the enforcement bureau had arrived. Clearly, she had called them out of concern for Li Junyi and the others' safety. Are you all right? Chen Qingxue approached Li Junyi with a worried expression. Li Junyi shrugged casually. What could happen to me? Captain Feng, perfect timing. They broke my legs. Arrest them immediately. Lin Dongxiang, upon seeing the legal affairs officers, felt a wave of relief instead of fear. Feng Song looked at Lin Dongxiang, who couldn't stand and was momentarily incredulous. Someone in Xuanqing dared to lay hands on the young master of Xingyi Pavilion? Captain Feng, that's not what happened at all. Chen Qingxue stepped forward, pointing at Lin Dongxiang, and defended, it was him who gathered dozens of thugs to harm my friend. My friend acted purely in self-defense. Feng Song waved his hand and said, no need to argue. I, as the team leader, will look into the matter myself. With that, he approached Li Junyi, raised his eyebrows, and asked, was it you who broke Mr. Lin's legs? You're not qualified to speak to our young master. Wu Xiangwang cracked his knuckles and said imposingly, go fetch your director. Hiss. Everyone present drew in a sharp breath. Although Feng Song was only a team leader in the legal affairs office, he was still a government official. Even Lin Dongxiang, the young master of Xingyi Pavilion, wouldn't dare to offend him lightly. Li Junyi stood up from the stone pier, looking at Feng Song with a mocking expression. You want to stand up for those scumbags of society? Please watch your words. Feng Song frowned, then patted the uniform he was wearing, saying firmly, we 1T stand up for anyone, we only enforce the law impartially. Very well. Li Junyi smilat faintly. In that case, why don't you go and arrest those social dregs? We know what to do on our own, we don't need anyone to teach us. After saying that, Feng Song lowered his voice and added beside Li Junyi's ear, personally, I think you did well. That bastard deserved the lesson. Xingyi Pavilion had a notorious reputation in Xuanqing if not for the lack of sufficient evidence. The Legal Affairs Department would have taken action against them long ago. When he learned that someone had broken Lin Dongxiang's leg, if not for his special position, Feng Song would have almost clapped in approval. You're worthy of the uniform you wear. Li Junyi nodded in satisfaction. Lin Dongxiang became anxious and shouted loudly, Captain Feng, my leg was broken by him. Are you going to shield the culprit? I said the Legal Affairs Department will investigate this matter thoroughly. It's not up to you to decide. Feng Song responded with a snort. You. Lin Dongxiang's face was full of anger. Feng Song waved his hand and said, take all of them back first. Do you dare to touch our young master? Just try it. Go Fugue blocked Feng Song's way. Li Junyi waved his hand to stop him, asking, have you forgotten the rules? Get back here. Yes. Go Fugue retreated awkwardly to the side. Li Junyi looked at Feng Song and said, Captain Feng, right? I don't want to make things difficult for you, but can I make a phone call? I want to make a call too. Lin Dongxiang showed no sign of weakness. At this moment, he had to call his father for help. After a moment's thought, Feng Song frowned and said, I'll give you 1 minute. Lin Dongxiang quickly took out his phone and dialed a number, then chattered away for a while. When he hung up, a cold smirk curled at the corner of his mouth. You bastard, you'll be crying soon enough. Then let's see who ends up crying. Li Junyi's lips curled slightly, his eyes full of contempt. Lin Dongxiang let out a disdainful snort. Although he was a spoiled brat, he wasn't stupid. He could naturally tell that Li Junyi was no ordinary person. But so what? This was Xuanqing, the home turf of their Xingyi Pavilion. Even if a raging dragon from elsewhere came here, it would have to lie down obediently, under the watchful eyes of everyone. Li Junyi took out his phone and said simply, the Xuanqing Legal Affairs Department wants to take me away. Handle it yourself. Seeing that both of them had finished their calls, Feng Song waved his hand and said, take them all away. But as soon as he finished speaking, the phone in his pocket rang. It was the director calling personally. Lin Dongxiang looked fearless and confident, chuckling. Captain Feng, you might want to wait until you finish your phone call before making a decision. Arrogance brings its own retribution. I advise you not to be too cocky. Feng Tsang clenched his fists secretly, then pressed the answer button on his phone. Lin Dongxiang glanced at Li Junyi, then fixed his gaze on Chen Qingxue, sneering. If you want me to let your pretty boy off, come to my private villa tonight. If you please me well enough, maybe I'll be merciful and spare him. A flash of anger passed through Chen Qingxue's eyes, and she was about to speak. If a dog bites you, you can't bite it back after all. Humans are different from beasts. Li Junyi said preemptively. Chen Qingxue nodded gently, comforting him. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to you. Although she didn't know Li Junyi at all, no matter what, he had gotten into trouble with Lin Dongxiang because of her, so she couldn't just stand by and do nothing. I appreciate your kindness, but I still want to know, do you really not know that I'm your fiancé? Li Junyi asked with a serious expression. I don't have a fiancé, and I don't even know you. Chen Qingxue couldn't help rolling her eyes. What kind of time is this to be thinking about messy things? Soon, Feng Tsang hung up the phone in his hand. Captain Feng, how about it? Still want me to go back to the legal affairs office with you? Lin Dongxiang asked with a sneer. Feng Tsang ignored him, instead casting a meaningful glance at Li Junyi before turning to Lin Dongxiang and waving his hand to command. Just take these two back. What the heck? Lin Dongxiang was completely dumbfounded. It wasn't until Lin Dongxiang was taken away by Feng Tsang that Chen Qingxue snapped back to reality after quite a while. Her mouth was slightly open, her eyes unblinking, as if she couldn't believe what had just happened. You, who exactly are you? Chen Qingxue stared intently at Li Junyi. Hee, if I told you our young masteress' identity, it would probably scare you to death. Go Fugue said smugly, beating them to it. Chen Qingxue's expression grew even more complicated, as in her mind, she had already regarded Li Junyi as one of her suitors. Frankly speaking, Lin Dongxiang alone was enough to trouble her, and now here comes someone with an even more powerful background than the former. She truly didn't know if she could escape his clutches. But then again, compared to that scumbag Lin Dongxiang, this guy in front of her seemed a bit more agreeable. In a flash of thought, Chen Qingxue composed herself and said seriously, Mr. Li, I know you're a big shot, but I want to tell you that if I don't like a man, even if you're a crown prince, it's useless. With that, she turned to leave. However, Li Junyi took a step forward and blocked her path. What do you want? Chen Qingxue raised an eyebrow. Instead of answering, Li Junyi asked, What is Elder Chen Qing into you? Huh? Chen Qingxue's gaze turned cold and wary. He's my grandfather. So what? Then that's right. Li Junyi nodded with a smile. He knew that old Li and his son wouldn't deceive him. Then changed the subject and said, Take me to see your grandfather, and you'll understand then. Chen Qingxue was full of doubts, but just as she was about to speak, her phone rang first. She quickly pressed the answer button, remaining silent as her face instantly darkened. Don't you want to see my grandfather? Follow me. Leaving behind those words, Chen Qingxue bypassed Li Junyi and ran to the parking lot at her high heels, then got into a sapphire blue Maserati. Let's go. Li Junyi didn't hesitate, signaling Go Fugue and Wu Xiangwang to follow. The three got into the car one after another, and as soon as they closed the doors, Chen Qingxue floored the accelerator. Running 6 red lights along the way, the Maserati arrived at Xuanqing First Hospital after about 10 minutes. The 4 of them entered a VIP ward. An elderly man in his 70s lay on the bed, wearing a respirator, his eyes tightly shut. The frequency on the electrocardiogram made it clear that his condition was critical. Sis, you're finally here. How is Grandpa? Chen Qingxue asked urgently. It's you. Chen Qingyao was about to speak, but her gaze inadvertently caught sight of Li Junyi and the other 2 following behind her sister. What a coincidence! Li Jun nodded with a smile, not particularly surprised. After all, he had long anticipated the twin outcome. You know each other? Chen Qingxue was somewhat surprised. Chen Qingyao nodded and said, Last night, when I was transferring in the Imperial City, this gentleman saved me. Chen Qingxue was baffled by these words, but she had no time to dwell on it. She asked anxiously, Quick, tell me about Grandpa's condition. There's no sign of improvement. The doctor says the last option is to try a liver transplant. Chen Qingyao said worriedly. The hospital had previously proposed this surgery, but given old Master Chen's age and physical condition, the procedure carried extreme risks, with a high probability that he would not survive the operation. Therefore, only conservative treatment could be adopted in the past few days. Chen Qingxue looked at the old man, whose breathing was weak, and her eyes instantly reddened. With their parents gone early, the two sisters were raised by their grandfather. The depth of their bond hardly needed to be stated. Make way. At that moment, a doctor in a white coat walked in and asked, "Has the patient's family decided?" Chen Qingxue and Chen Qingyao exchanged glances, both hesitant. Seeing this, the doctor continued to urge, surgery is the only option left for the patient. Every minute of delay increases the risk to their life. Instantly, the atmosphere in the ward grew even heavier. If you perform this transplant surgery, you might be pushing the patient straight through the gates of hell. Li Jun, who had been silent for a while, suddenly spoke up. At his words, the gazes of several people immediately turned toward him, including that doctor. "Young man, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want." The doctor scoffed. Li Jun shot him a glance, full of contempt, but he didn't bother to argue. Instead, he walked directly to the old man and took out a small acupuncture kit from his pocket. "What do you want?" Chen Qingxue immediately stepped in to stop him. Li Jun said calmly, "If you don't want your grandfather to meet his maker, then step aside right now. You know how to treat illnesses?" Chen Qingyao also walked over. "I know a thing or two," Li Jun said casually. Go Fuguwei and Wu Xiangwang looked at each other from the side. "Fuguwei, the young master is bragging again. What do we do? Let him brag if he wants to," Wu Xiangwang said matter-of-factly. Go Fuguwei shook his head and said, "But judging by his stance, it looks like he's really going to treat that person. What if he ends up killing him? Even if we end up killing our master, we can afford it, no need to panic." "Don't worry," replied calmly. Go Fuguwei nodded in deep agreement, looking as if the reasoning was sound. "Sir, I suspect you are questioning our hospital's diagnosis?" The doctor asked with clear dissatisfaction. "Don't misunderstand." Li Jun shrugged and said, "I'm not questioning it, I'm rejecting it." The doctor's face turned ashen. He snorted coldly. "Our hospital has the top-tier medical equipment. How could a few words from you dismiss our diagnostic results?" Then he turned to Chen Qingxue and her sister, warning, "Let me be clear up front. If someone else treats him and something goes wrong, our hospital won't be held responsible." His words immediately made Chen Qingxue and Chen Qingyao's hearts leap into their throats. "If something goes wrong, I'll take the blame," Li Jun declared, exuding dominance. Between the hospital and Li Jun, any normal person would choose to trust the former. "But, can you really cure my grandpa?" Chen Qingyao seemed a bit off. Seeing her sister like this, Chen Qingxue's eyes widened. Yao, are you thinking? Sis, let him try." Chen Qingyao seemed to have made up her mind. The doctor grew anxious and warned again. "If something goes wrong, the hospital won't take responsibility. Enough noise. Take him out. No one comes in for the next 10 minutes. Li Jun ordered firmly. "Doctor, would you rather walk out on your own? Or should we throw you out?" Go Fuguwei asked arrogantly. The doctor's lips twitched several times as he grumbled, "Don't regret this." Chen Qingxue didn't know why, but she inexplicably followed her sister out of the ward. Yao, how did you meet that guy? And why do you believe he can cure Grandpa?" If he had to rate himself, Li Jun felt he could only score 99 out of 100. 1 point less, lest he become too proud. Because aside from not being able to have a child by himself, there seemed to be nothing he couldn't do. Medical skills? For him, it was child's play. As the saying goes, golden needles summon souls, silver needles heal people. Chen Qingyan had 1 foot in the gates of hell, missing 2 of his 3 souls and 5 of his 7 spirits. Ordinary silver needles were no longer effective. Only golden needles would do. He spread out the needle pouch, and 6 golden needles instantly appeared in Li Junyi's hands. He lifted Chen Qingyan's shirt, piercing 6 needles into different acupoints. The movements were swift and seamless. Just then, unable to rest easy, Chen Qingxue ignored her sister's objections and forcefully burst through the door. Li Junyi's phantom-like technique came into view, but instead of being impressed, she found it alarming. She had seen acupuncture treatments before, but never such reckless stabbing. He was completely playing with people's lives. "Stop! If not for her sister holding her tightly, Chun Xingxue would have charged at Li Jun to fight him. Compared to the anxious sisters, Go Fugue and Wu Xiangwang were stunned and speechless. The moment the golden needle was about to pierce Chun Qingan's body, Li Junyi's hand gently twisted at a technique that clearly showed years of experience. Not only that, at the same time each golden needle was inserted, an invisible surge of force would emanate from Li Junyi's palm and quietly seep into Chun Qingan's body. Fugue, are we seeing things? Wu Xiangwang swallowed hard, as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Go Fugue shook his head woodenly. Controlling the needle with Qi needle goes, Qi emerges. A few years ago, when a great physician was checking the health of old Master Li, they had witnessed this technique. The two never imagined that their own young master would also possess this incredible skill. Their shock was beyond words. Sister, calm down. Chen Qingyao was also uncertain in her heart. Her belief in Li Junyi was entirely based on a woman's intuition. Fortunately, Li Junyi did not let her down. The next moment, a stream of white vapor rose from Chun Qingan's body, looking incredibly miraculous. His lips twitched slightly, and his eyelids fluttered, showing clear signs of regaining consciousness. Li Junyi casually removed the breathing tube from his face and then helped him sit up with one hand. Bam bam. He gathered his fingers and struck Chun Qingan's back sharply a few times. A large mouthful of black blood spewed from Chun Qingan's mouth. Grandpa, Grandpa, Chun Xingxue and Chun Qingyao rushed forward, guarding Chun Qingan on either side. If anything happens to my grandpa, I'll fight you to the death. Chun Xingxue gritted her teeth so hard they nearly cracked, glaring fiercely at Li Junyi. I find you talk way too much nonsense. Li Junyi shot her a glance, turned around, and walked out of the ward, his figure quickly disappearing down the corridor. This scene made Chun Xingxue suspect that this guy might have fled out of guilt. With that thought, without a second's hesitation, she was about to chase after him. But just then, Sister, Chun Qingyao suddenly called out. Chun Xingxue stopped and turned around, and saw Chun Qingan slowly opening his eyes. Although he appeared weak, his complexion was significantly better than before. Grandfather, are you all right? Chun Xingxue wept tears of joy. After 3 whole days, Chun Qingan had finally regained consciousness. Chun Qingan leaned back against the headboard, forcing a faint smile as he said, Xingxue, Qingyao, don't worry. Grandfather's fine. That's good to hear. Chun Qingyao said, her eyes red-rimmed. That maniac just left, and the patient is healed. The doctor, seeing Li Junyi leave, was about to come in and make some sarcastic remarks, but stopped mid-sentence, completely stunned. How the hell is this possible? Staring at Chun Qingan, who had regained consciousness, the doctor's jaw practically hit the floor. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed that in just a few short minutes, Chun Qingan, a dying man, had come back to life. Could that kid really be a miracle doctor? Quack, get out. Chun Qingan roared. The doctor felt utterly humiliated and could only awkwardly retreat from the ward. Xingxue, where's that young man just now? Go find him quickly. Chun Qingan instructed softly. Though he had been unconscious earlier, his hearing hadn't failed him, so he had caught every word of their conversation without missing a single one. He owed his escape from the jaws of death entirely to Li Junyi. Chun Xingxue also realized she had wronged Li Junyi, but for a moment, she couldn't bring herself to swallow her pride and go find him. Seeing this, the understanding Chun Qingyao spoke up first. Sister, you stay with Grandpa. I'll go find him. Chun Xingxue replied softly. Chun Qingyao practically ran out of the ward and chased all the way downstairs until she finally found Li Junyi on the lawn. Your grandfather should be awake now, right? Li Junyi held a cigarette in his mouth, looking like a cynical rake. Yes, thank you so much. Chun Qingyao said with heartfelt gratitude. If it hadn't been for Li Junyi's timely help last night, she would have been in grave danger, and today he had saved her grandfather again. These were 2 immense debts of gratitude. Glad he's awake. Let your grandfather rest, while he should be discharged in a couple of days. Li Junyi said casually. Chun Qingyao nodded, then asked curiously, by the way, how come you're with my sister? That's a long story. One of my purposes in coming to Xuanqing was to find your sister. To find my sister? Yeah, if things work out, then I'll be your brother-in-law. Act. Chun Qingyao was dumbfounded, completely confused. What did he mean by if things work out, he would be her brother-in-law? What if there's no accident? Li Junyi said calmly. There's a marriage arrangement between your sister and me. I came to find her to break it off. So unless something unexpected happens, I'm definitely calling off this marriage. Chun Qingxue, this winter plum blossom, is too proud. He's afraid he'll freeze to death. Besides, he simply cannot accept a marriage without feelings. However, things go against one's wishes, and accidents always come quietly. As soon as Li Junyi finished speaking, the phone in his pocket rang. It was Li Dingwu calling. You little brat. Did you go see that girl from the Qin family? You saw her, right? Isn't she beautiful? Did your heart skip a beat? As soon as the call connected, Li Dingwu fired off several questions in a row. Li Jun didn't know where to start answering, so he simply said indifferently, she's decent looking, barely passes my standards, but no buts. Li Dingwu cut him off firmly. I've looked into that girl from the Chun family. She's a good girl. If you dare to bully her, just wait till I get back and see if I don't give you a beating. Old Li, don't go too far. Li Junyi turned red with anxiety. Li Dingwu snorted, raising his voice abruptly. This marriage was personally promised by your great-grandfather. If you dare to defy my wishes, I'll kick you out of the family. The marriage alliance between the Yi and Jiang families was still some time away. Li Junyi had originally planned to resolve the marriage arranged by Old Li first, but things didn't go as he wished. Li Dingwu's attitude was exceptionally firm, even threatening to kick him out. Damn it, Li Junyi felt somewhat numb. Wait, he couldn't back out, but he could make the other party take the initiative to withdraw. Wow, I'm such a clever little rascal. Li Junyi gave himself a big thumbs up in his mind for his cleverness. Ahem, Qingyao, the more I look at you, the more you resemble my first love. He wouldn't stop until he said something shocking. Hearing Li Junyi's teasing words, Chun Qingyao's face flushed slightly. Future brother-in-law, don't make fun of me. The term future brother-in-law sent a pleasant shiver through Li Junyi, and he thought to himself that this girl was much more interesting than her sister. I'm not making fun of you. I swear, every word I said came from the heart. Li Junyi spoke with a solemn face, but silently added in his mind, if even half a word is false, may the heavens punish me by giving me 10 sons. Chun Qingyao felt her heart pound like a deer crashing against her chest. With her looks, she was never short of suitors on the contrary. The men chasing her could form several football teams. But she had never felt this way before. Was she falling for him? No, he was her sister's fiancé. Chun Qingyao quickly banished the absurd thought from her mind and forced herself to calm down. Brother-in-law, my grandfather wants to see you. With that, she fled as if escaping. Watching this, Li Junyi's eyes grew vacant. He had planned to flirt with Chun Qingyao, making Chun Qingxue think he was a playboy, so she would call off the engagement herself. But he had overlooked one problem. What if Chun Qingyao ended up falling for him? After all, a man as outstanding as him was simply irresistible to any woman in the world. The twins, the elder sister as aloof as snow, the younger as passionate as fire. Two extremes of ice and fire. This was tricky. When Li Jun returned to the hallway outside the ward, Go Fuguei and Wu Xiangwang were smoking on the corridor. Shoo! Huh! Xiangwang, who do you think the young master learned his medical skills from? I still can't figure it out. I guess the young master accidentally fell off a cliff and happened to find an ancient medical manual, Mastering Supreme Healing Arts. Damn, you think this is some kind of novel? Go Fuguei said scornfully. Wu Xiangwang snorted. Can't you be nicer? That's called having a vivid imagination. Ahem, what are you two muttering about? Li Junyi suddenly spoke up. Plop. Go Fuguei and Wu Xiangwang were startled, the cigarettes falling from their mouths. Young master, when did you show up? Wu Xiangwang asked in shock. With their skills, they hadn't even noticed Li Junyi approaching. How strange. Don't make a fuss. Move aside. Li Junyi pushed them away and walked into the ward alone. Go Fuguei and Wu Xiangwang looked at each other. Could the young master really be a top-tier martial artist? Go Fuguei asked with a trembling voice. Wu Xiangwang nodded and replied. After the young master fell off the cliff, besides finding ancient medical texts, I bet he also stumbled upon a supreme martial arts manual. Bang! Go Fuguei gave him a knock on the head and said exasperatedly, You're still dreaming. He didn't believe Wu Xiangwang's nonsense. It was probably just that he was distracted chatting earlier, so he hadn't noticed Li Jun approaching. Yeah, that must be it. Inside the ward. Watching Li Jun return after leaving, Chen Qingxue felt a bit embarrassed, not even daring to look at him. Chen Qingyan smiled kindly and said, "Young man, thank you for saving this old man's life. You flatter me, Grandpa Chen." Li Juya Shukulat. Chen Qingyan was a former subordinate of Li Yuanshan, having spent his life in military service, defending the country. Both publicly and privately, this old man deserved his help. "Call me Grandpa Chen. May I ask who you are?" Chen Qingyan didn't know his identity. "My name is Li Jun. Li Yuanshan is my great-grandfather." Li Jun revealed his identity. Whoosh. Hearing this, Chen Qingyan was so excited he tried to get up, but unfortunately he had no strength. "Grandpa, don't move." Chen Qingxue looked at Li Jun with curiosity. She didn't know what the name Li Yuanshan represented, so she couldn't understand why her grandfather was so excited. "Good, good, good." Chen Qingyan exclaimed 3 goods in a row, quite emotional. Truly worthy of the old commander's descendant, a dragon among men. Hearing the term old commander, Chen Qingxue and Chen Qingyao exchanged glances. The two sisters knew that their grandfather had served in the military when he was young, but after retiring, he never spoke of his military past to anyone. "Elder Chen, you flatter me." Li Jun dared not be presumptuous. Chen Qingyan was more and more pleased with what he saw. A few days ago, feeling his health failing, he wanted to see the old commander one last time before he left, so he went alone to the imperial city. Unexpectedly, upon learning that he had granddaughters, Li Yuanshan insisted on forming a marriage alliance with him. Chen Qingyan was clear-headed with the Li family's current power. What kind of woman couldn't the old commander's great-grandson marry? The reason he insisted on the marriage was nothing more than worry that his granddaughters would be left without support after he was gone. Thinking of this, Chen Qingyan's eyes were already filled with tears. He pointed at Chen Qingxue and introduced, "This is my eldest granddaughter. I assume you've already met." Li Jun nodded gently, a bitter smile flickering at the corner of his mouth. "Qingxue." Chen Qingyan pointed at Li Jun and introduced, "He is your future husband. Once I'm discharged from the hospital, I'll find an auspicious day and arrange your wedding." Chen Qingxue stood frozen. Earlier, when Li Jun claimed to be her fiancé, she thought it was just another one of his tricks to pursue her. So he wasn't lying after all. "Grandpa, I won't marry him." Chen Qingxue resisted somewhat. Hearing this, Chen Qingyan immediately put on a stern face and scolded. "Since ancient times, marriage has been arranged by parents and matchmakers. Since your parents are gone, don't you listen to your grandfather either?" "Grandpa." Chen Qingxue didn't want to make her grandfather angry, but she simply couldn't accept this outcome at once. "You can't marry him, absolutely not." Li Jun also urged excitedly, "Grandpa Chen, our generation believes in free love. Arranged marriage is already an outdated practice, and besides, I'm just a good-for-nothing, idle rich brat who lives off others until I die. Who else but me could top the rankings of prodigal sons in the Xia kingdom? Your granddaughter is such a remarkable talent, I must not be the one to spoil such a fine flower." Li Jun was not only shameless in belittling himself, but even seemed somewhat smug about it. Chen Qingyan put on a stern face and said firmly, "Dragons beget dragons, phoenixes beget phoenixes. How could the descendant of my old commander be worthless mud?" Then he turned to Chen Qingxue and said forcefully, "You will marry him whether you like it or not, unless you disown me as your grandfather." Damn it, I've already stooped to belittling myself, and he still won't change his mind? Li Jun felt like crying, but had no tears. How do Mingyuan, a well-known upscale residential area in Shuanqing. In the most luxurious private villa, Lin Zhonghu, the leader of Xingyi Pavilion, stood with a livid face, silent. A tall, sturdy man with a crew cut waited beside him, not daring to breathe. A long while passed. Has the Legal Affairs Department still not released the young master? Lin Zhonghu's voice was deep, his anger unconcealed. His son had been beaten, with both legs broken and taken away by the Legal Affairs Department. This was not just a provocation to him, but a blatant humiliation. When had the name Xingyi Pavilion lost its weight in Shuanqing? Was the world turning upside down? Master, the Legal Affairs Department is stubbornly refusing to release him. The flat-haired man replied cautiously. Hearing this, Lin Zhonghu's expression grew even more grim. After all, he was ostensibly one of Xuanqing's top 10 entrepreneurs in theory. The legal affairs department wouldn't tear off the veil of civility before having solid evidence to sanction him. Contact Vice City Lord Song for me. Vaguely, Lin Zhonghu sensed a whiff of danger. The flat-haired man immediately pulled out his phone, found the target number in his contacts, and then handed it over to Lin Zhonghu with both hands. If you're thinking of asking me to help rescue your son, I suggest you drop that idea. The call connected, and a deep, warning voice came through. Lin Zhonghu narrowed his eyes and said thoughtfully, Deputy City Lord Song, I'm at least a well-known entrepreneur in Xuanqing and have contributed many achievements to you. Are you really going to cast me aside like a spent donkey? Song Minggao sneered and said, Did I not make myself clear enough? Your son has offended a big shot. Also, don't flaunt your company in front of me. If you think Xuanqing is not good enough, you can simply move your factory away. Stop pretending to be a big shot in front of me. After finishing, Song Minggao hung up the phone first. Lin Zhonghu was not angry because he was thinking in his mind who exactly could be the big shot that Song Minggao, the deputy city lord, refers to as such. Could it be someone from the imperial capital? Thinking this, cold sweat broke out on Lin Zhonghu's forehead. This little brat can't be that unlucky, can he? Eagle, you said earlier that the young master was taken away by the legal affairs department because he offended a young man? Yes. Did you check the background of the other party? No, I didn't check. The eagle replied nervously. Lin Zhonghu's face darkened, and he roared, Damn it, go check it out now. Yes. The eagle hurriedly withdrew, but before he could take a few steps. Forget the check, just take me to that guy directly. Lin Zhonghu suddenly changed his mind. Since he was sure the other party was no ordinary person, further investigation was pointless. At the same time, at Yinyang Technology, the old employees in the company knew that the 32nd floor was the president's exclusive area. Chun Qingxue usually worked and relaxed here. Except for her grandfather, Chen Qingyan, no other man had ever been allowed upstairs. But today, that rule was broken. Li Junyi was sitting on the sofa, legs crossed, looking extremely at ease. What would you like to drink? Coffee or tea? Chen Qingxue was unusually polite. After all, he had cured her grandfather's serious illness. Nothing to drink. Why don't you sit down and let's chat? Li Jun made a pleased gesture. After hesitating for a moment, Chen Qingxue still sat down across from him and said calmly, What do you want to talk about? About our engagement. Li Junyi said bluntly. Hearing this, Chen Qingxue's heartbeat gradually quickened, but her expression remained calm. Well, I think a person should stick to their own opinions and not change their mind just because of a few words of advice, especially on something as important as marriage. What do you think? Li Junyi said with a serious expression. Chen Qingxue furrowed her brow and said, Stop beating around the bush and just say it. Fine, I like straightforward people. Li Junyi grinned and said, I can tell you don't like arranged marriages either. Unfortunately, both our families are old-fashioned, so we have to do everything we can to change their minds. You don't want to marry me? Chen Qingxue asked inexplicably. This question threw Li Junyi off, so he asked back, You want me to marry you? Don't forget, I'm famously a playboy. Ask anyone in the imperial city and you'll know I'm not lying. Marry me and you'll definitely regret it. Sometimes women are like that. The more they're cared about, the colder they act, but when they're ignored, they feel displeased inside. Chen Qingxue was no exception. Ever since college, she had enjoyed the halo of being the center of attention, with suitors flocking around her like fish in a river. Now, sensing a hint of disdain from Li Junyi, she couldn't accept it. What if I insist on marrying you? Chen Qingxue said defiantly. Li Junyi was taken aback, then waved his hand to stop her, saying, Calm down. I've already told you what I'm like. Now I need to tell you I have a bad temper. And I'm not above hitting a wife either. So don't be impulsive. The more he said this, the more annoyed Chen Qingxue felt. Being able to manage a company as large as Yinyang Technology was proof enough that she was sharper than most. So naturally, she could tell that Li Junyi was deliberately painting himself as an irredeemable scumbag, just to avoid marrying her. Bastard. Did he really think he was such a catch? I don't want to marry you either. Chen Qingxue didn't say those two lines out loud. Instead, she put on a stern face and said, I can't go against my grandfather's wishes. What the heck? Li Junyi grew anxious. I've spelled it out for you so clearly, and you're still not giving up on me? As for your grandfather's wishes, I think if you resolutely resist, or even threaten to kill yourself over it, the old man will surely change his mind. Why don't you threaten to kill yourself over it? Chen Qingxue shot back. I'm more afraid of death than most. Li Juya an suarat shamalesli. Anything else? If not, please leave. Chen Qingxue showed him the door. Li Junyi helplessly stood up from the sofa, then suddenly stopped at the door and turned around, saying, "Actually, I like your younger sister, so you really can't marry me. Then go tell my grandfather to betroth my sister to you." Chen Qingxue glared at him angrily. Li Junyi was momentarily speechless. He didn't have the guts to say that to Chen Qingyan, because he could guess with his, but that the latter would most likely not refuse. Bastard! Seeing Li Junyi take the elevator away, Chen Qingxue stomped her foot in anger. This was the first time she had been so rejected by a man. Meanwhile, just as Li Junyi stepped out of the Cloud Yang Technology building and lit a cigarette, several Mercedes-Benz cars parked at the main entrance, and many people got out one after another. The leader was none other than Lin Zhonghu. Damn it, I'm already in a bad mood, and you still dare to mess with me. Li Junyi immediately recognized them as members of Xingyi Pavilion and flew into a rage. Seeing this, Lin Zhonghu quickly calmed him down. Don't misunderstand, little brother. I'm here to apologize. If apologies worked, what would be the point of the law? I never accept apologies. Li Junyi waved his hand grandly. Fugue, Xiangwang, go beat them to death. The young master of Xingyi Pavilion had his legs broken in the morning, and his boss was beaten into a pig's head by the afternoon. This was definitely the biggest news in Xuanqing. For a while, all the elites in Xuanqing were inquiring about who had the guts to pull off such a feat. That night, in an underground boxing gym on the outskirts of Xuanqing, on the ring, a man as sturdy as an ox stepped up under everyone's gaze, waving to the audience around him. I bet 3 million on Iron Bull tonight. If he loses, I'll have to hit the rooftop. Don't worry, I also bet 5 million on him. There's no way he'll lose tonight. Exactly, Iron Bull has a 32-fight winning streak. His opponent is just a nobody. The crowd and the audience whispered among themselves. Then the night's challenger stepped onto the ring. He was in his 30s, with dark skin. Though he stood at 1.8 meters, he was still a head shorter than the 1.9-meter Black Bull. He looked ordinary at first glance, but a keen observer would notice the murderous gleam in his eyes. Let's welcome tonight's challenger, Black Wolf. The announcer read from the script in the ring. Sitting in the last row of the audience were Li Junyi and his two companions. Xiang Wang, place 100 million on Black Wolf to win. Li Junyi said calmly. Got it. Wu Xiangwang got up and left his seat. Though he didn't think much of the challenger named Black Wolf, he would unconditionally follow Li Junyi's orders. After all, the young master was known for squandering money. 100 million was nothing if he lost. He lost. Unlike Wu Xiangwang, Go Fugue thought deeper and asked curiously, Young master, do you know that guy? He's my brother. Li Jun replied with a smile. On the arena, the referee glanced at the clock. The betting had closed, so at the audience's request, he blew the whistle to start the match. Unfortunately, tonight you've run into me. Iron Ox stepped forward carelessly and said contemptuously, If you kneel down and count out to me 3 times right now, I'll spare your life. Enough noise. Black Wolf's eyes flashed with killing intent, and then he left a faint afterimage behind him. Such speed, Iron Ox instantly realized he had met a master tonight and dared not be careless. The next moment, Black Wolf, who had been 5 paces away, was now right in front of Iron Ox. Iron Ox raised his leg and whipped it toward the opponent's head. Black Wolf neither dodged nor evaded, throwing a straight punch that accurately hit Iron Ox's knee. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Bang! Black Wolf landed another heavy punch on Iron Ox's crown, and the latter collapsed to the ground before he could even cry out in pain. From start to finish, only 10 seconds had passed. The entire venue erupted in uproar. Even the referee was stunned, taking a moment to recover. The winner, Black Wolf. Those who bet on Iron Ox looked ashen-faced, while only a few who bet on Black Wolf cheered jubilantly. Fugue, the young master, actually won money. What a miracle. Wu Xiangwang said in disbelief. Go Fugui was equally dumbfounded. The young master had always been a spendthrift. When did he ever make money? A few minutes later, Black Wolf returned to the backstage area. Good job. A middle-aged fat man with slicked back hair and a fierce face appeared behind him. Without turning around, Black Wolf said indifferently, "How many fights must I win before you let my daughter go? The boss just informed me that you need to kill someone. Once it's done, your daughter will be returned to you immediately." The middle-aged fat man sneered. Hearing this, Black Wolf spun around abruptly. "Kill who?" "This guy." As he spoke, the middle-aged fat man took a photo from his pocket and placed it in front of the Black Wolf. "No need for that trouble. I'm already here." Suddenly, a mocking voice rang out. The middle-aged fat man turned around and saw three young men standing behind him, having appeared there without warning. "Wait." He shot a quick glance at the photo in front of the Black Wolf, then carefully scrutinized the young man at the front. "It's him. Kill him, and your mission is complete," the middle-aged fat man excitedly ordered. However, the normally obedient Black Wolf stood frozen on the spot, unmoved. "Be boss." The tough guy Black Wolf's eyes instantly reddened, and he choked out the words. Li Juni grinned and said, "Someone wants you to kill me." Bang! The Black Wolf's eyes turned cold. Before the middle-aged fat man could realize what was happening, his head exploded, splattering blood and brain matter across the floor. He was dead beyond dead. "How did this happen? How did you end up like this?" Li Juni asked with a frown. Black Wolf let out a long sigh, tears glistening in his eyes. 3 years ago, a certain powerful figure tried to take his fiancée by force. So in a fit of rage for his beloved, he slaughtered the man's entire family in one night. A big shot who admired his skills wanted to recruit him, so he went to great lengths to save his life, but in the end he was still exiled to the Sin City death prison. Half a year ago, with Li Juni's maneuvering, Black Wolf was released from prison safely. Returning to Xia country, he discovered that his fiancée had fallen ill from longing for him and died of sorrow, but she had left him a daughter. However, his daughter was under the control of that big shot. For the sake of his daughter, he became that big shot's puppet. "Who is it?" Li Juni's tone was icy cold. "Whoever dared to treat his brother like this, he would kill them. Not even the heavens would be given face." "I don't know." Black Wolf quietly clenched his fists. From start to finish, he had never really seen his daughter in person, only in photos. "Fugui, get the phone guard to investigate," Li Juni said in a tone that brooked no argument. Go Fugui nodded in agreement, and then left the backstage area alone. "Don't worry." Li Juni patted the photo of Black Wolf and said, "I guarantee your daughter will be safe, and I'll let you twist off that guy's head." The intelligence capabilities of the Li family's phone guard were quite outstanding, almost on par with the government's Dragon Group. As long as that person was in Xia country, they couldn't escape his grasp. "Big boss, thank you," Black Wolf said with tears in his eyes. "All right, a grown man shouldn't be so sentimental. Come have a drink with me." Li Juni put his arm around Black Wolf's neck, and they left. A dozen minutes later, at an outdoor food stall, Li Juni and Black Wolf clinked glasses and drank. "Big boss, when did you get back? I remember you once said you were going to stay there until you were 30, didn't you?" Black Wolf asked curiously. Li Juni put down his wine glass and sighed. "Life is full of disappointments, even if I want something. What's the use?" Black Wolf heartily agreed with these words. "By the way, Chief, you must have other business coming to see me, right?" Black Wolf had a rough exterior, but a meticulous mind. After a moment's thought, Li Juni grinned and said, "There is indeed a favor I need from you." Black Wolf frowned. "Chief, if you really consider me a brother, don't be so distant." "All right, then I won't be pretentious. I need you to kidnap someone for me." Li Juya Chocolat. Since Li Xiu, that cousin, disregards family ties, don't blame him for putting righteousness above family. The night was deep. Li Xiu returned home drunk, only to find a middle-aged man who had been waiting for a long time. "Dad!" Seeing the visitor, Li Xiu sobered up considerably. Li Zongping tapped his fingers on the coffee table and squeezed out a single word, "Sit." Li Xiu felt like walking on thin ice, sitting stiffly to the side. "Are you indulging yourself more and more these days?" Li Zongping spoke with slight dissatisfaction. Faced with the accusation, Li Xiu didn't dare breathe and said tremblingly, "Dad, maintaining relationships sometimes requires going through the motions. That's what you taught me." "I did teach you that, but it depends on the situation." Li Zongping's tone suddenly rose. Don't you know that your good cousin is back? I know. Unconsciously, a few beads of cold sweat broke out on Li Xiu's forehead. Facing his own father, sometimes he felt more pressure than when facing Li Dinghua. Dad, actually I think second grandfather and uncle treat us we're fine as we are. Bang! Before Li Xiu could finish, Li Zongping slammed the table and roared. Nonsense! A person strives for higher, water flows downhill. How can you be so lacking in ambition? Li Xiu bowed his head slightly, not daring to respond. Glancing at his son, Li Zongping mused, Sure, if it weren't for your great-grandfather risking his life to save him back then, how could that old bastard Li Yuanshan be where he is today? Hearing this, Li Xiu gradually felt indignant. Back then, Li Yuanshan fought alongside his great-grandfather on the battlefield, making significant contributions to the founding of the new Xia kingdom. Unfortunately, in the final battle to pacify the realm, his great-grandfather sacrificed himself to cover Li Yuanshan. If not for that, how would they have been reduced to a collateral branch by now? Everything of the Li family belongs to us. Don't let any guilt weigh on you. Li Zongping said earnestly. Yes. Li Xiu clenched his fists, unwilling to accept it, and said, What is rightfully ours, I will personally take back. Seeing this, Li Zongping nodded with satisfaction. Well, that kid coming back now, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Huh? Dad, what do you mean? Li Xiu was puzzled. Li Zongping lit a cigarette, took a few heavy drags, and said, Now that the Yi family and the Jiang family are about to form a marriage alliance, and that kid shows up at this time. He couldn't help but let out a few sinister chuckles. Li Xiu asked in astonishment. The Yi family accepted a huge favor from our Li family back then. Can they still go back on their word? I'm not talking about the Yi family, but the Jiang family. Li Zongping sneered. That old man from the Jiang family, just to enter the imperial city, didn't hesitate to have his grandson marry that tarnished woman from the Yi family. But Li Juni coming back now is like rubbing salt into the Jiang family's wounds. On the surface, they might not dare to do anything, but behind the scenes, that's another story. Li Xiu showed an I see expression, but then suddenly asked in confusion, The Jiang family doesn't have the guts to go after my cousin harshly. After all, they can't withstand the fury of that old bastard Li Yuanshan. That is precisely why we need to add fuel to the fire. As he spoke, a glint of ruthlessness flashed in Li Zongping's eyes. If we strike at the critical moment and kill Li Jun, we can pin it on the Jiang family. That way, my son can become the rightful heir. Kill two birds with one stone. You understand what needs to be done, right? Li Zongping narrowed his eyes. Li Xiu tightened his face and nodded. Got it. Before leaving, Li Zongping patted his son's shoulder. Trust your father. You will be the head of the number one noble family in Xia country. The head of the number one noble family. The tipsiness on Li Xiu instantly vanished, replaced by an excitement he couldn't hide. He lit a cigarette, sat on the sofa with his legs crossed, and fantasized about a bright future. Power, wealth, women standing at the top of the world. Vaguely, Li Xiu felt as if someone was watching him. Something's wrong. His father had left, and the servants had already gone to rest. Li Xiu abruptly looked up and turned around. Under the bright light stood a man. You are. Bang. Just as Li Xiu spoke, the man leaped to his front and struck with a knife hand blow. Meanwhile, in Xuanqing, the main altar of Xingyi Pavilion, Lin Zhonghu's head was wrapped like a huge bandage, his gloomy gaze revealing boundless fury. He never dreamed that one day he would be beaten black and blue. Not only that, but his son's legs, due to lack of timely treatment, would leave him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Old Eagle, contact the 10 deadly gates for me. If they can take out that little bastard, I'll pay 100 million as a reward. Lin Zhonghu ordered with a fierce glare. The 10 deadly gates, the top assassin organization in Xia country, boasted numerous first-rate killers. Once targeted by this organization, even those martial grandmasters would find it hard to escape. Most importantly, the 10 deadly gates never sold out their employer's information. So Lin Zhonghu didn't need to worry about the forces behind Li Juni tracing back to him after his death. Dad, I must have Chen Qingxue and I won't let her sister go either. Lin Dongxiang roared hysterically. Lin Zhonghu nodded and reassured him. Rest assured, if nothing unexpected happens, Your grandfather's Qingyang Group is already attacking the Chun family's Yunyao technology on the stock market. Hee. Qingyang Group, with a market cap of over 100 billion, was the #1 financial conglomerate in the Jiangdong region. Although Yunyao Technology was one of the top 10 enterprises in Shuangqing, it was insignificant in front of Qingyang Group. Lin Dongyang believed that within at most 3 days, Cloud Yang Technology would be completely hollowed out, becoming a prize for him and his son. Xiang Wang, why are there always people who love daydreaming in this world? Daydreaming is more comfortable, I guess. Two voices rang out in succession. Who goes there? Old Eagle's body tensed. The three of them turned to look and saw two unfamiliar young men who had appeared in the villa at some unknown time. Wu Xiangwang shrugged and said, I made my move during the day. Now it's your turn. All right, Fine. Go Fuguwei stared at Old Eagle with a mocking grin, saying, This eagle is a bit tougher than that crow from the day. Worth my time. Old Eagle sensed a dangerous aura and immediately became alert. Lin Zhonghu wasn't stupid. Either he immediately called for his men outside to come in and protect him. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. The sound of irregular footsteps approached, at least 60 to 70 members of Xingyi Hall arriving one after another. Wu Xiangwang blocked the door alone, exuding the aura of a one-man army. Meanwhile, Eagle was poised to strike, his intuition warning him not to underestimate the guy before him. Indeed, that was the case. Go Fuguwei raised a fist and taunted. This fist has 20 years of training behind it. I wonder if you can withstand it. As soon as he finished speaking, he shot forward like an arrow off the string, moving at an astonishing speed. The next morning, earth-shattering news spread through the entire city of Shuangqing. Xingyi Pavilion has fallen. With irrefutable evidence, the Legal Affairs Bureau dispatched over 100 officers and arrested more than 20 core members of Xingyi Pavilion. Lin Zhonghu and his son have been taken into custody. They will face the judgment of the law. Shuangqing First Hospital. Upon hearing the news, Chun Qingyao couldn't help but cheer and jump for joy. A while ago, her sister had competed with Xingyi Pavilion's public-facing companies, which offended them. And so, Lin Zhonghu boasted that Yunyang Technology must give up 60% of its shares, or else the Chun family would pay a painful price. Now that Xingyi Pavilion has fallen, it means they no longer have to worry. Girl, why don't you guess why those despicable rats have been taken down? Chun Qingyan suddenly spoke. After a night of rest, his complexion had improved significantly, and he might be discharged from the hospital in another 2 or 3 days. Chun Qingyao was stunned and asked in surprise, Grandfather, what are you trying to say? You're so smart, can't you guess my meaning? Grandfather, you mean, the reason Xingyi Pavilion fell is because my future brother-in-law made a move? Chun Qingyan smiled without saying a word. Xingyi Pavilion had been entrenched in Shuangqing for over a decade, yet Li Junyi had only arrived in Shuangqing a day ago. Gasp! Thinking of this, Chun Qingyao couldn't help but draw a sharp breath and asked curiously, Grandfather, my future brother-in-law is the great-grandson of your old superior. What exactly is their family background? The imperial city. The Li family. Chun Qingyan said solemnly. Gasp! Chun Qingyao gasped again. She truly hadn't expected that Li Junyi came from the premier family of the Xia kingdom. Wait, having such an amazing brother-in-law meant she could walk all over the Xia kingdom from now on. Grandpa, I'll have the caregiver come take care of you. I'm going to the company first. Chun Qingyao didn't hide her excitement at all. She was going to tell her sister this news. Chun Qingyan said with a smile, Go ahead, don't worry about Grandpa. I'll call if anything comes up. Half an hour later, when Chun Qingyao arrived at Yunyang Technology, she immediately felt a tense atmosphere. All the employees in the company were bustling about frantically, as if they were in the middle of a commercial war. Secretary Su, what happened? Entering the elevator, Chun Qingyao ran into her sister's secretary. Deputy Director Chun, for some unknown reason, Qingyang Group is aggressively shorting our company's stock on the market. Seeing the trend go wrong, retail investors are frantically dumping our shares. Ding dong. The elevator doors opened. Secretary Su rushed out first, clutching documents. Chun Qingyao also quickened her pace and arrived at the CEO's office. At that moment, Chun Qingxue was frowning, taking one call after another. Chun Qingyao didn't dare to disturb her and sat quietly to the side, waiting. Finally, After more than 10 minutes, Chun Xingxue put down her phone and sat back in her chair, somewhat wearily. Sis, I remember Qingyang Group belongs to Lin Dongyang. Chun Xingxue nodded and interrupted. No need to guess. It must be because of that bastard. What should we do now? Chun Xingya was at a loss. Just now, Secretary Su told her that in just one night, Yinyao Technology's market value had shrunk by a fifth. If Qingyang Group's momentum continues so fiercely, within 3 days, Yinyang Technology will fall into the abyss. Sis, we have to hold on to the company. This is what Mom and Dad left us. Chun Qingyao said firmly. Chun Xingxue glanced at her younger sister, hesitant to speak. Although Yinyang Technology had developed rapidly, it stood no chance against a behemoth like Qingyang Group. Sis, let us go ask brother-in-law for help. Chun Qingyao's eyes suddenly lit up. What? It took Chun Xingxue a moment to realize who her sister meant by brother-in-law. She couldn't help but scold. Can you stop talking nonsense? I'm already stressed enough. I'm not talking nonsense. Right now, no one but brother-in-law can help us. Chun Qingyao said with certainty. Chun Xingxue said solemnly, not to mention whether that guy is willing to help us. Even if he is, he'll probably be willing but unable. Although it was certain that Li Junyi was no ordinary person, but even if the other party has an extraordinary background, can they possibly stand against the behemoth that is Qingyang Group? My brother-in-law is formidable. I think as long as my sister asks, he will definitely not refuse. Chun Qingyao said with absolute certainty. Ashu. Just then, the office door was pushed open. Li Junyi walked in rather lazily, saying as he walked, Miss Xingxue, I think you must stick to your own opinion. You must not take this marriage seriously. Qingyao is here too. Li Junyi's expression changed instantly, and he said with a slight smile, Have you eaten? I'm going to reserve a table at Yunjin Restaurant for lunch. Would you do me the honor? Yunjin Restaurant is a famous romantic restaurant in Xuanqing. Upon hearing this, both sisters' expressions changed. Chun Qingyao's face turned red, and she was so embarrassed she wanted to find a crack to crawl into. Chun Xingxue, on the other hand, put on a stern face. Anyway, Li Junyi was at least her fiancé in name, yet he was flirting with her sister right in front of her. What a scumbag. Brother-in-law, you came just in time. To reduce the awkwardness, Chun Qingya emphasized the word brother-in-law heavily. Can you help us? Huh? Sensing the girl's fluster, Li Junyi asked, puzzled, what happened? Qingyang Group has been targeting our company. Chun Qingya immediately recounted the whole story. Holy crap, those bastards dare to mess with you? They're asking for trouble. Li Junyi instantly put on the air of a man and raged over his woman, declaring domineeringly, Don't worry, leave it to me. Are you really going to help us? Chun Xingxue suddenly asked. Li Junyi had already taken out his phone, but when he heard her voice, something occurred to him, and he grinned slyly. Of course I will, but you have to agree to one condition. What condition? Chun Xingxue blurted out. You must not agree to our marriage. Li Junyi said with a serious expression. Swish. Chun Xingxue's expression changed again. Her large eyes gradually reddened, tears glistening, ready to spill at the slightest blink. You jerk! Chun Xingxue shouted, then stood up and walked out of the office. Li Junyi scratched his head, somewhat confused. Brother-in-law, you're going too far. My sister is a famous beauty in Xuanqing. What man wouldn't he be moved by her? Unless he is not normal. Chun Qingyao seemed to think of something as she said this, staring at Li Junyi with wide eyes. Could it be that you, brother-in-law, are not normal? 32nd floor. Chun Xingxue stood in front of the restroom. Though she had washed her face, the tear stains were still very obvious. She had never imagined being so rejected by someone, especially a man. Her pride was deeply wounded. Damn jerk. The men pursuing me could line up from Xuanqing to the Imperial City. Who do you think you are? You don't want to marry me? Well, I don't want to marry you either. No, since you don't want to marry me, I'll marry you just to spite you. At that moment, a thought crossed Chun Xingxue's mind. If you hate a man, give him a few sons. Wear him out. When a woman gets ruthless, it's truly terrifying. At least Chun Xingxue herself was shocked by this crazy idea. Hey, are you okay? A concerned voice suddenly rang out. Chun Xingxue's body trembled. She turned and found Li Junyi standing behind her. She didn't know when. I don't want to see you. Go away. Chun Xingxue gritted her teeth and shouted. Li Junyi scratched his head and said, I think you should give me a chance to explain. I don't want to hear it. Please leave now, or I'll call security. Chen Qingxue was adamant. Security? Li Junyi wanted to say, go ahead and call. Even if you scream until your throat goes hoarse, it won't do any good. But on second thought, this was not the right time for that line. Pursing his lips, he pretended to be profound and said, here's the thing. I admit you are a very perfect woman, beautiful and generous, considerate, outstanding in ability. Here omitted 3,000 words. Listening to his incessant praise, Chen Qingxue's mood gradually improved. When Li Junyi exaggerated, she even couldn't help but let out a laugh. Not angry anymore, Li Junyi's eyes darted around. Who's angry with you? I'm nobody to you. Li Junyi didn't quite know how to respond to that, so he changed the subject and said, Your excellence is obvious to all. And me? I'm a top playboy. How can a toad like me ever be worthy of a white swan like you? Pfft. Chen Qingxue couldn't help but laugh again. You think I don't want to marry you? Don't fucking joke around. I'm not some saint. TSK, off topic. Let me just say it directly. I'm not marrying you because I'm a wanderer. I'll never settle down in this life. After we get married, I won't be able to indulge in pleasure-seeking and completely stay away from a life of luxury and dissipation. That would be worse than killing me. So, I don't want to give up the whole forest for just one tree, even if it is a very beautiful tree. Li Junyi said all this in one breath, his mouth almost dry from talking. However, Chen Qingxue just said, oh. Later, could you make your stance clear to Grandpa Chen, promising to die rather than marry me? Li Junyi asked pitifully. Why me? Why don't you tell your own family yourself? Chen Qingxue retorted. Li Junyi scratched his head and said, I don't dare, because if I don't marry you, my great-grandfather will really beat me to death. Although Li Yuanshan had doted on him since childhood, cherishing him as if holding him in the palm of his hand and afraid he might drop him, or holding him in his mouth afraid he might melt, but Li Yuanshan's character is that his word is his bond, and once he decides something, even 9 oxen couldn't pull him back. Who dares to defy him? Just try it. Even his great-grandson will get a beating without mercy. Are you begging me? Chen Qingxue had returned to her usual aloof demeanor. Hearing this, Li Junyi frowned. He had never begged anyone, let alone a woman. Ahem, this isn't begging, it's just a partnership. As long as you agree to my terms, forget about Qingyang Group, even turning your Yunyao technology into Xia Kingdom's top financial group would be no problem. Li Julia Grinat. Xia Kingdom's top financial group? Huh. Chen Qingxue let out a contemptuous laugh. Clearly, she dismissed Li Junyi's words as boasting. Sis, brother-in-law isn't boasting. Chen Qingyao suddenly appeared. She already knew Li Junyi's true identity, the heir of the #1 noble family, so she could be certain he wasn't exaggerating. I don't care if you're boasting or not. I just want to know, were you begging me just now? Chen Qingxue was as proud as a peacock. Li Junyi's face darkened. Like hell I'm begging you. If you dare marry me, I'll tie you up and beat you every other day. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Fine, I will. Chen Qingxue's beautiful eyes widened, looking as if she was ready to risk it all. Damn it. Since you're dead set on marrying me, I'll let you taste the Li family discipline today. Oomph. Li Junyi suddenly reached out, grabbed Chen Qingxue's arms, twisted them behind her back, and pressed her against the wall. Smack! A crisp slap echoed. Chen Qingyao, standing nearby, widened her eyes and covered her mouth in disbelief. Smack! Smack! Li Junyi raised his hand and spanked Chen Qingxue's bottom, one slap after another. Why, you bastard! Chen Qingxue, half ashamed and half enraged, let tears stream down like a burst dam. Brother-in-law, you can't treat my sister like that. Chen Qingyao snapped back to reality and hurried over to stop him. I'm your brother-in-law. Not only do you refuse to help me, but you actually side with an outsider. Li Junyi seemed to have gone berserk, ignoring all family ties. He hooked his leg around Chen Qingyao's arms and slapped down with his other hand. Smack! Smack! For a moment, the bathroom was filled with continuous spanking sounds, along with the sobbing of the two women. Fortunately, no outsiders dared to come up to the 32nd floor, otherwise they would have assumed a man and 2 women were doing something shameful inside. A long while passed. You jerk of a brother-in-law, boo-hoo. Li Junyi, I hate you, boo-hoo. Chen Qingyao and Chen Qingxue hugged each other, crying non-stop. Oomph. This is what happens when you don't listen. You'd better behave from now on, got it? When Li Junyi calmed down, his face showed no trace of remorse, but he couldn't help feeling guilty inside. After all, the two sisters were delicate young women, and what he had done was truly cruel. Especially Chun Qingyao, who was the most innocent. Between an older sister and her brother-in-law, a normal person would choose to help the sister. Ding dong. Perhaps due to a guilty conscience, Li Junyi pressed the elevator button and fled in fear of punishment. Sister, are you okay? Chen Qingyao rubbed her own backside with one hand while helping Chun Qingxue up with the other. This bastard, I won't let him off. Chun Qingxue gritted her teeth. No one had ever dared to treat the two sisters like this. At that moment, she suddenly had the urge to find Li Junyi and die together with him. Meanwhile, Li Junyi took the elevator back to the CEO's office. He first put a cigarette in his mouth, then pulled out his phone and skillfully dialed a number. Since City Death Prison, who is this calling? The call connected, and a cold voice came from the other end. It's me, Li Junyi. Li Junyi was concise. Huh? So it's the boss? What are your orders? Doesn't Michel call himself the god of finance? Tell him to get his ass to Xia Kingdom within a day to see me.